Enchantment is a 1999 novel by Orson Scott Card, and it is what you could call a kind of portal fantasy romantasy, for that matter, romantic fantasy. It is actually an interesting read considering current events. But anyways, a Russian family finds out they are Jewish, supposedly, or maybe they are actually Jewish, who knows, and have applied for an Israeli visa, though they hope to make it to the United States eventually. It's the mid-1970s. With this introduction, we get an odd discussion on circumcision, later than 8-day old circumcision, or particularly for, like a 10-year-old and an adult male. Anyways, they learn some scriptures, in Hebrew and prayer and whatnot. But most importantly, they learn of God and where they were before, irreligiousness overtook this communist country. The main character is Ivan Smetsky, a Ukrainian-American linguist that is an expert in Old Church Slavonic, which is the oldest, basically, Hasidic Slavic language you have, Slavic being Russian, Ukrainian, and the related languages around there. He's also the narrator, and this is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty in a sense. Apparently, one version particular to Ukraine's folklore that I guess I'm unfamiliar with. As a young boy from Kiev, he finds a beautiful woman still, or rather maybe sleeping or dead, or just part of his imagination in the woods. For more postgraduate studies, though, when he's older, he goes back to his homeland to study. He's rather romantic, liking folklore, language, and seeming after love as well. These are all themes I'm kind of partial to myself, I guess, in a book. When I was much younger, when I read Ender's Game and Speaker of the Dead, but those are favorites at the time. I find Card brings up problems such as marriage and children and racism. There's a Palestinian and Israeli conflict that's kind of looked at as well, capitalism and communism, but he kind of presents them as they are or were, since this is an older book, but it has no solutions or opinions, though some of the characters do. For example, our main character's mom also has some parts, and she is very superstitious and conservative, and so when the portal fantasy, historical fantasy elements pop in, it tracks more with her beliefs and her superstition, but magical elements are here, including Baba Yaga, potions, other odd magics, talking bears, whatnot. I should say rape is made to be obviously bad, and so is marrying minors, but nudity gets the okay from many characters in this book. The historical period for this portal fantasy section is actually 9th century, which is really early medieval, not a generally good time for Jews. The country is called Taina and is Christian, and it's also fictional. It is made up for this book. This would be shortly after Christianization in the area, though, and it does deal with various gods, though they don't get a lot of attention. The point of views are a mix. I think Ruth's point of view is actually done rather poorly. It reminds me of some of Rufo from the Clare Quintet by R.A. Salvatore. If you know my thoughts on that, you'll know I just didn't enjoy it. I think it could be handled a lot better. It seems a little unrealistic. Kind of needed a cop-out evil character, in a sense, whether they're actually evil or not. It's kind of a sense of conservative fantasy, a place and a thing good before something else ruined it. It's guesswork. I'd say trying to get at utopia. It's against later czars and the Golden Horde and even, later Leninist communism. So, like, really, really, really early, I guess, conservative in that sense. There is a welcome sense of humor, though, particularly where Ivan says, now everyone's going to hell, in that whole section. And I appreciate that true love at first sight variety is not really a thing in this fairy tale-esque story. I know Card is a rather controversial figure, and I can understand that 100%. I actually only read this because I was doing the buddy read with my wife and my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law wanted to read this, so I was like, okay, sure, whatever, we'll read that. So, and we had a discussion on this way back when we actually first read it, so sometime earlier this year, like January, February, sometime in there. So if you want a more in-depth, more spoiler-filled discussion, you could go listen to that discussion. I will try to remember to link that here. Anyways, thank you for watching, everyone. Liam from Liam's Life. I'll catch you next time.